Most people believe having few or no friends means something is wrong with them. They assume loneliness equals weakness, failure, or social defect. But what if the truth is more dangerous than that? What if having fewer friends is not a flaw, but a side effect of rare traits most people will never possess? In this video, we will expose the 7 uncommon characteristics that silently isolate powerful individuals and why society misunderstands them. Let me tell you something most people are afraid to admit. The world is not built on friendship. It is built on interest. If you have few or no friends, it is not because you lack social skills. It is because you refuse to participate in cheap loyalty. Most people collect friends the way insecure men collect applause. They stack names, faces, contacts, and conversations, not because they value connection, but because they fear isolation. They believe numbers equal safety. They believe being surrounded equals being protected. They are wrong. You, on the other hand, understand something dangerous. Loyalty that is given too easily is worth nothing. You do not bond fast. You do not open doors quickly. You do not hand access to your mind, your plans, or your emotions just because someone smiled at you or shared a laugh. And this is exactly why your circle is small. You test people in silence. You watch how they behave when there is nothing to gain. You observe how they speak about others when those people are absent. You notice who respects your boundaries and who slowly tries to cross them. Most people fail these tests without even realizing they were being tested. That is not arrogance, that is survival. Machiavelli warned long ago that alliances formed in comfort collapse under pressure. You live by this instinctively. You know that when circumstances change, most friends change with them. When power shifts, loyalty evaporates. When advantage disappears, affection follows it out the door. So you do not waste energy maintaining connections that will abandon you the moment they become inconvenient. This makes people uncomfortable around you. Because you cannot be easily controlled. You are not impressed by familiarity. You are not seduced by attention. You do not confuse proximity with trust. And in a world where people bond over weakness, trauma, gossip, and shared enemies, your refusal to do so isolates you. But listen carefully. Your isolation is not emptiness, it is filtering. Most people want friends who validate them, agree with them, and soften reality for them. You want allies who stand firm when reality turns hostile. That alone disqualifies the majority. You understand that loyalty is revealed under pressure, not pleasure. Anyone can laugh with you, anyone can agree with you when it costs them nothing. But very few will defend you when it costs them something. You are patient enough to wait for those few. And patience is something the masses do not possess. So they call you distant, they call you cold, they call you antisocial. What they really mean is, you cannot be exploited easily. You do not share your vulnerabilities freely. You do not overshare to create false intimacy. You do not confuse emotional exposure with connection. You know that information is power, and power should never be handed to people who have not earned it. This mindset naturally repels casual relationships. And that is the point. You would rather have one loyal presence than 100 unreliable ones. You would rather stand alone than be surrounded by people who secretly compete with you, envy you, or wait for your weakness. Most people do not want loyalty. They want convenience. You reject convenience. And because of that, your social life looks empty to those who measure worth by numbers. But here is the truth they cannot see. The fewer people you allow close, the harder it is for anyone to betray you. The smaller your circle, the clearer your vision. The quieter your environment, the sharper your strategy. You are not lonely, you are unguarded. And in a world where everyone is exposed, emotionally dependent, and desperate for approval, that makes you rare, that makes you unpredictable, that makes you powerful. So if you have few or no friends, understand this clearly. It is not because you failed socially, it is because you refuse to lower your standards to feel included. And people who live by selective loyalty always walk alone first, because the path they are on is not designed for crowds. It is designed for those who understand that real bonds are not found. They are tested, forged, and proven over time. Under pressure, where masks fall, intentions reveal themselves, and only those capable of standing firm remain close enough to be trusted. Let us speak about the trait that silently repels people before they ever understand why. Self-sufficiency. Not the motivational poster version, Not the fake confidence people display online, but the real, uncomfortable kind, the kind that does not beg, does not chase, and does not collapse when no one shows up. If you have few or no friends, this trait lives inside you. You do not emotionally outsource your stability. You do not require constant reassurance to function. You do not need an audience to validate your existence. And that alone makes you threatening. Most friendships are not built on connection. They are built on mutual emotional dependency. People bond because they need someone to complain to, lean on, mirror them, distract them, or confirm that they are not alone in their confusion. Remove that need, and the bond weakens. You removed it. You learned how to sit with yourself when things went wrong. You learned how to think when others panicked. You learned how to endure silence without filling it with noise, people, or validation. That is not normal. Most people cannot survive their own company for long. They need constant stimulation, messages, calls, gatherings, drama, to avoid facing themselves. You do not. You solve your problems privately. You process your emotions internally. DR, you move forward without announcing your pain. This creates a quiet imbalance in social dynamics, because when someone realizes you do not need them, they feel useless. When someone cannot rescue you, advise you, or emotionally anchor you, they lose leverage. And leverage is what keeps many friendships alive. Bar, you do not lean on people. Br, so they cannot lean on you in return. You do not overshare. Br, so they cannot bond through mutual vulnerability. Bar, you do not ask for help often, so they never feel important around you. Bar, not because you are arrogant, but because you are capable. Br, and capability isolates. Machiavelli understood this well. Dependence is a tool of control, though those who do not depend are difficult to rule. You are not easily influenced by group opinions. You do not adjust your decisions to maintain harmony. You do not fear being misunderstood. Br, this independence disrupts social expectations. Br, people expect weakness. They expect emotional exchange. Br, they expect mutual need. Br, you offer none of it. Br, so they drift. Not because you push them away, but because there was nothing for them to hold on to. And here is the part most people will never tell you. Your self-sufficiency is not admired at close range. It is admired from a distance. Up close, it makes people insecure. But they wonder why you do not need what they need. They question their own emotional reliance. Br, they feel exposed standing next to someone who can stand alone. So they label you distant. On. Approachable, hard to connect with. But the truth is simpler. You cannot be emotionally controlled. You do not bond through shared helplessness. You bond through shared strength, and that disqualifies most people. You do not seek friends to escape your life. You seek alignment, if at all. This is why your relationships, when they do exist, tend to be intense, private, and rare. Because very few people can meet you at the level of independence you operate from. You do not require daily contact to feel secure. You do not panic in absence. You do not interpret silence as rejection. That alone breaks modern social norms. In a world addicted to constant connection, you are immune. In a culture built on emotional outsourcing, you are self-contained. And that is not loneliness. That is emotional sovereignty. People sense it immediately. And instead of rising to it, they step away from it. Because being around someone who does not need you forces you to confront the truth about yourself. And most people would rather avoid that confrontation than build a bond that requires growth, accountability, and strength on both sides. Which is why your circle remains small, your presence remains undiluted, and your path remains largely solitary, not by accident, but because self-sufficiency naturally removes those who seek connection, for comfort rather than alignment, leaving you surrounded by space, clarity, and independence that few can tolerate and even fewer can match. There is a reason you feel out of place in most rooms, even when you say nothing. It is not shyness. It is not social anxiety. It is perception. You observe more than you participate. You listen more than you speak. And while others are busy performing versions of themselves, you are studying the structure beneath the performance. If you have few or no friends, this trait is one of the most misunderstood reasons. Why? You do not interact on the surface level. You analyze patterns, motives, inconsistencies, and emotional undercurrents without conscious effort. You notice who talks the most when they are insecure. You notice who laughs too quickly to hide discomfort. You notice who dominates conversations to avoid being questioned. Most people never realize how transparent they are. You do, and once you see someone clearly, it becomes difficult to unsee them. This depth creates distance, because casual relationships depend on mutual illusion. People want to be believed, not examined. They want their mask accepted, not questioned, but your presence alone questions it. You do not mirror people automatically. You do not fake enthusiasm. You do not pretend not to notice contradictions. Your silence becomes unsettling, not because you judge openly, but because you see accurately. Machiavelli understood that power begins with understanding human nature, not trusting it. You live by this instinctively. You study how people behave when they think no one is paying attention. You observe reactions more than words. You value what is revealed under stress over what is promised in comfort. This makes shallow interaction exhausting for you. Small talk feels like noise. Repetitive conversations feel like stagnation. Emotional theatrics feel manipulative. So you disengage, not loudly, not aggressively. You simply withdraw, and people interpret withdrawal as rejection. They assume you feel superior. They assume you are distant by choice. They assume you are uninterested. In reality, you are conserving energy, because depth requires silence and observation requires space. You understand something most people do not. The more people talk, the more they reveal. You do not rush to expose yourself. You let others unfold naturally. This gives you an informational advantage, but it also isolates you, because when people realize they are being seen without being able to see you in return, they feel vulnerable. And vulnerability without control feels like danger, so they avoid you, not consciously, instinctively. They gravitate toward people who reflect them, validate them, and make them feel safe in their illusions. You do not do that. You challenge reality by existing quietly within it. You are not easily impressed by charisma. You are not distracted by confidence. You look for consistency, alignment, and behavioral truth. That disqualifies most people quickly, which is why your social life seems empty compared to others. But here is the truth, that beneath the surface, your psychological depth is not meant for crowds. It is meant for strategy, leadership, and long-term thinking. The ability to read people accurately is a burden in social environments built on denial. You cannot enjoy ignorance once awareness sets in. You cannot pretend not to notice power plays, emotional manipulation, or subtle hostility. So you keep your distance, and distance becomes your default state. People often bond by sharing opinions. You bond by understanding structures. People talk to feel heard. You listen to learn. That difference alone creates separation. Because once you understand how someone operates internally, you lose interest in playing along externally. You no longer need approval. You no longer seek acceptance. You seek truth, and truth does not make you popular. It makes you precise. Your loneliness is not a lack of opportunity. It is the cost of clarity. When you see through social dynamics, you cannot unsee them. When you recognize patterns, you cannot unknow them. So you choose solitude over performance, observation over noise, understanding over belonging. And that choice reshapes your entire social existence, leaving you standing slightly outside the crowd, watching, calculating, absorbing. Not because you cannot connect, but because you refuse to connect blindly in a world where most connections are built on misperception, emotional blindness, and unexamined behavior that you see too clearly to ignore. There is a reason your patience for most social interaction is short, even when nothing is openly wrong. It is not boredom. It is not arrogance. It is awareness. You live in a world saturated with performance, and you can no longer pretend not to see it. If you have few or no friends, this trait is one of the most decisive factors. Most people do not interact to communicate truth. They interact to maintain illusion. They perform likability. They rehearse opinions. They laugh at things they do not find funny. They agree with ideas they do not believe. And they expect you to do the same. You refuse, not loudly, not rebelliously, but internally you disengage. You cannot participate in conversations that exist only to fill silence. You cannot maintain relationships that survive on gossip, appearances, and emotional theatrics. Your tolerance for social theater is low because you see what it costs. Every fake laugh drains energy, every forced agreement weakens integrity, every unspoken truth accumulates tension. You would rather be alone than fragmented. Machiavelli understood that appearances rule the masses, but reality governs outcomes. You live closer to reality. You notice how people adjust their personalities depending on who is watching. You notice how morals shift when incentives change. You notice how loyalty disappears when status is threatened. Once you see this, you cannot pretend otherwise. So when people invite you into circles built on illusion, you hesitate. You sense the unspoken rules. What can be said? What must be hidden? What must be praised regardless of truth? You recognize this as control disguised as harmony, and you reject it. Most friendships are maintained by mutual avoidance of uncomfortable truths. You are unwilling to play that game. You do not enjoy gossip because it reveals insecurity, not insight. You do not enjoy constant positivity because it hides avoidance, not strength. You do not enjoy performative empathy because it demands agreement, not understanding. This makes you incompatible with group dynamics that prioritize comfort over clarity. People sense this immediately. They feel that you are not fully in the performance. They notice your silence where agreement is expected. They feel exposed by your refusal to pretend. And instead of questioning the illusion, they distance themselves from you, not because you attack them, but because your presence disrupts the narrative. You do not need to call out falsehood for it to feel threatened. Reality itself is disruptive. You prefer honest distance over fake closeness. You prefer clarity over popularity. You prefer solitude over social compromise. And that preference carries consequences. It reduces your circle. It simplifies your life. It sharpens your identity. While others manage multiple versions of themselves, you maintain one. That alone makes you rare. You do not build friendships on habit or convenience. You build them on alignment. And alignment is scarce in a world addicted to image. People often say they want honesty, depth, and authenticity. What they mean is they want those things without discomfort. You understand that? Real authenticity creates friction. It challenges narratives. It exposes contradiction. It demands accountability. Most people are not prepared for that, so they choose illusion, and you choose distance. This is why your social world feels empty but not chaotic, why your solitude feels heavy but clean, why your life lacks noise but contains clarity. You are not antisocial, you are anti-false, and in a society that survives on shared illusion, rejecting it means stepping outside the circle entirely, leaving you with fewer connections but stronger internal alignment, sharper perception, and an uncompromised sense of self that does not bend for approval, applause, or belonging, even when it costs you proximity, familiarity, and the comfort of being surrounded by people who are present physically, but absent in truth. If you have few or no friends, understand this clearly. You are not broken, delayed, or socially defective. You are operating on a different axis than the crowd. While most people chase connection to escape themselves, you have learned to stand firm in your own presence. While others trade authenticity for acceptance, you have chosen clarity over comfort. While the masses seek numbers, noise, and validation, you value loyalty, independence, perception, truth. This is not accidental. It is the result of rare traits colliding with a world built for illusion. History has never been shaped by those who blended in effortlessly. It has been shaped by those who stood apart long enough to see clearly. Your solitude is not a void. It is a filter, a sharpening stone, a proving ground. You were never meant to be surrounded by many. You were meant to be understood by few, if any. And until that alignment appears, distance protects you. Silence strengthens you. Isolation refines you. So do not rush to fix what is not broken. Do not lower standards to feel included. Do not confuse popularity with power, because those who walk alone learn faster, think deeper, and move with precision. And when they finally choose to let someone close, it is not out of need, but out of strength. That is not loneliness. That is leverage.